Okay, so in this video, I just wanted to show you guys my trading simulator. It's a Monte Carlo type of simulator, which the best way to explain it is essentially like rolling a dice and then recording those results. So, don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but what I do is I've actually gotten the past 100 trades that I've done in with my actual portfolio, and I've plugged it into here, this row, which is my R multiple row. So these are the R multiples that I've actually generated using my current swing trading system. And the R multiple I discussed in a previous blog post, which I'll post a link to. And essentially, it's like imagine rolling a dice. In this case, it is a 100-sided dice with this number, which is my trading, which is the result of a trade that I've actually placed. So 100 trades, 100 different results. Imagine each result being placed on the side of a dice which has 100 sides to it. So now I'm aiming to do 150 trades a year, which is N, so time period is the year. So if I'm aiming to do 150 trades a year, this simulator essentially gets a dice with my trading results on each side of the dice, and it rolls it 150 times, generate essentially a simulation of what it would be like to trade my trading system over a year. And then what it does is it runs the simulation 10,000 times, and then from that 10,000 times, I'm able to gather some data from it. So that is essentially what this spreadsheet does, and I will go into a little bit more detail about this actual spreadsheet and other things and bits of data that I'm able to sort of glean from using this spreadsheet. So simulated characteristics, this is essentially just a little bit of information on, for example, how many trades I do a year, the average R, the average profit per trade that I'm generating in R terms. Then I've got my standard deviation. Now, this is based off of a normal distribution, so given the positive skew of the way I trade, it's not exactly the most accurate representation of it. And yeah, essentially I'm just using all of these inputs to generate the SQN score, which is something Van Farp talks about. It's just an indicator of the quality of your trading system. I'll probably leave that up to you guys to do a bit more research on it, because I honestly don't remember exactly the formula for it. Then I've also got my average loss, my average gain expressed in R multiples. So on average, I will lose 0.16 R, and on average, I will gain 0.45 R. Return on risk is just the size of the gains in relation to the size of the losses. So my gains in this case are 2.8 times my losses on average. Reliability, that's the success rate of the trading system. So I am profitable only 34% of my trades. Once again, I've discussed this on a previous post, but this is the tiers that I use. I use a tiering system for my position sizing strategies. Essentially what it's saying is that if you imagine I start off with $100, let's say, or 100, number of 100, then anywhere from 100 and 120, I will be in tier 3. And in tier 3, I will bet 2% of my capital per trade. Now, if I am in a drawdown and now I have lost a couple percent and my capital is 95 to less than 100% of the initial capital, then I will go to tier 4 where I now cut my trading size down to 1.5% from 2%. If I lose more capital, then I'll cut my trading size to 1%. So it's sort of like if I find myself losing money, I'll cut my trading size. And if I find myself making money, let's say in tier 2, if I'm anywhere from 120 to 200% of my original capital, then I'll actually start increasing my bet. Now this tier is actually a special tier because it's based off of um, the idea of betting markets money. So once I've generated a profit, what I would be doing is I would, in tier 2, let's say for example I have 200% of my initial capital now, so I've doubled my money. Well, I would be betting the initial 2% as of tier 3, but then I would also be betting 8% of my profits that I've accumulated. So in the case of 200, I'll bet 2% of that 200 as per usual in tier 3, but then I would also bet 8% of 100 because I've got 100 profit here. So I'm using quote unquote markets money, which is also explained by Van Farm. So I encourage anybody who's interested in that to sort of look into that Van Farm. So hopefully that sort of gives an idea of what I'm doing here. Then the results data, this is essentially data from the simulated results that give me an idea of what to expect after a year of trading my trading system. So the average return I would expect is 120, so 20%. Maximum return out of the 10,000 results generated was 270.5. Minimum return was 90.4. So this is all at the end of a year of trading, what I can expect. So that's saying that I ended up, after a year of trading, I ended up with losing 9.6% of my capital. That's the maximum drawdown during the year. I can expect my capital to go from 100 and actually draw down 12.2% of my capital. So that's the worst case. I can expect to lose 12.2% out of 10,000 simulations. Then I've got my risk of ruin here, which is defined here. So anything less than 90, if I ever hit less than 90, then that's defined as being ruined, and I need to stop trading and sort of recalibrate. So anything less than 90%, if I ever hit less than 90% of my original capital, I'll stop trading. Here is the percentage of losing years. So I will actually lose on 6% of my years according to the 10,000 results that I've generated. Lastly, I've got a little min and max. This is automatically calculated, so no need to input anything here. And in fact, the only things that you need to input something into is the yellow highlights. But essentially, this is just giving me the range of this row here. So I know that I've got 100 trades here, which is just just saying I've got 100 trading results that I've plugged into my simulator. I can always increase that by just grabbing here and just increasing that. Let's say I now have 114 results that I can plug into the simulator, and you'll see that change to 114. So that is that, and hopefully that makes sense. Then this is the actual simulator working data. It's not something that you really need to concern yourself with. If you're planning to use this simulator, I'll try and make it available to you guys. But it's all automatic, so no yellow highlights means it's all automatically done. Essentially, as I sort of explained with the dice analogy, what it does is this is the first roll of the dice. I rolled a 61, and 61 corresponds to a 0. So essentially, the trade didn't make a profit or a loss. and it will plug that value here, which is the R multiple, and it just does that however many times, 150 times, which is how many trades I'm expecting to do a year, and it just generates that. And this is the capital, the running equity curve or equity, you could say. So start off with 100, and then the value begins to increase or decrease based off of the result of the dice or the result of the trade. And this is more working data. You don't really need to understand it too much, but essentially it's just saying based off of the tiers, if I bet that size, what would actually happen to my capital, and then what happens is I've got a formula here which will just select whatever tier I am in and plug that into this equity curve here. And this is the return statistics, so just a 5.88% chance of ending up with between 90 to 100 at the end of the year. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. This is the drawdown that I can expect, the maximum drawdown. So there's an 83.7% chance that I'll end up with a drawdown between 0 to 5% during the year. This is the 10,000 results that I actually simulated, so they all go here. And yeah, so that's sort of the simulator. The last sort of information that I look at, that I generate from the simulator, is this year-end return probability distribution. So this gives me an idea of the probability distribution that I can expect from my trading system. As you can see, I try to make the system positively skewed, and so far that's worked. By looking at this graph, it's saying that based off the simulation, I've got something like a 37% chance that I'll have a return between 110 to 120, and there's essentially, based off the simulator, there's not really much chance of me having a drawdown or ending up with less than 80 to 90% of my initial capital. And so see, there's a bit of skew there because there is still potentially a chance that I might end up with 160 to 170% of my capital or a 60 to 70% profit, but it doesn't really reflect on the loss side that I'll have a 60 to 70% loss. So that's a positive skew, and that's really what I'm trying to aim for with my trading system. The next thing is my max drawdown probability distribution. So it's just giving me an idea using a graph what sort of drawdowns I would expect, and see that I'm very likely to get a 0 to 5% drawdown, so that's nothing out of the usual, and I don't need to panic if I find myself in that situation. If I have a 5 to 10% drawdown, that's less likely, so I need to start thinking if there's anything wrong with how I'm trading, because that's not a likely scenario given my trading simulator. And this is just a fun little equity curve simulator over 100 trades. See how I can expect my trading to act. Just all of this is really just to give an idea of how my trading system might act. Now, obviously, there's a lot of caveats to this, and the simulator does not definitively prove that I'm definitely going to get that sort of characteristics during my trading. One such caveat is that I will actually not be trading one trade at a time, which is what the simulator assumes. It's essentially assuming that you roll the dice once, then you roll it again and again, and you do that all in a row, one at a time, which is obviously not what happens in a real life portfolio. You've got multiple trades on at the same time, so typically what you would see is probably a lot more volatility than what is shown by this simulator. So you could have 10 correlated trades and you'd end up with a much bigger loss than you would really see in this simulator. But at the end of the day, it's it's a simulator that gives you a good idea of what you can expect potentially, and it's something I use more as a source of negative knowledge. So if I generate my trading results, I plug it into my system, and I see that I'm getting really subpar data, then I know that before I even put real money on the trading system, I need to actually make sure it's just a higher quality trading system because it's already generating results based off this simulator that are something that I wouldn't want to trade, then I don't even need to think about trading with live money. But if the simulator does show that, hey, this trading system is okay and based off of these are my actual trading results, based off of that, it does seem like I am able to trade it. Not necessarily that I will get these uh, sort of results, which I'd be quite happy with if I did. But it is an indicator that it's a system that I can trade profitably, and obviously doesn't guarantee that, but it does mean that at least that source of negative knowledge, it's not disproven that I shouldn't be trading it at all. And also, what the trading simulator allows me to do is it lets me play around with position sizing. So anything here, sort of play around with, um, and yeah, that essentially gives me an idea of how my equity will act and behave using my trading system, and it gives me an idea of whether or not the trading system is suitable for use with live capital. So hopefully that makes sense and is of some use to you guys. If you are interested, just leave a comment below or let me know. I don't think I can actually upload Excel onto the exchange, but I can send it via email, and if enough people are interested, I can maybe share it in Dropbox or share a link or figure something out on that end. Um, if not, you can generate your own simulator based off of what I've sort of shown here. Fortunately, it's a bit hard for me to show you each formula exactly, um, but I guess it does give you an idea of how you might be able to create a similar spreadsheet and a similar simulator. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys again later.